In this video, we will begin to create the joints for our character. You can see here that I have Morty from Rick and Morty created, so we're going to use him as our test dummy, essentially. Now, before we begin putting in the joints to make the skeleton, one thing you need to do is to make sure that you organize your scene. If you go to the channel box, right at the bottom, you should see the layers option. The layer option essentially lets you add geometry or aspects within a 3D scene into particular layers. That way you can influence them in different ways. So for instance, right now I have skeleton and geometry Morty. And you can see here it has V, which means visible. So for instance, if I go to the skeleton really quick and click on the V, you can see that this layer has all of the joints assigned to it. If we go to the geometry one, again you can probably guess that this is actually assigned to Morty's geometry. And on this third option here, what we can do is we can make it transparent. We can make it into a reference. So right now I cannot click anything on Morty. I can't even select his faces, vertices, edges. I can't select anything on Morty. It's just there as a reference, essentially. So he'll just stay in place. Can't do anything to him whatsoever. As opposed to this one, it was just a normal geometry. So again, I can go in and select faces, etc. Now, in order to create and assign objects to a layer, it's quite simple. You select the plus icon here, hover over it, it'll say create new layer, and it will just call it layer. It'll be default layer 1 or layer 2 or whatever it is. Just double click on the name, you can change it. I'm going to call this Morty underscore 2. You can't have any space bar, so make sure you do use the underscore. Press save. And what we'll do right now is we're going to work on this version of Morty because again this is just an example one. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just click and drag over all of this geometry right here. Right click on Morty 2 and I'm going to add selected objects. So now you can see that this particular layer has all the geometry for this version of Morty. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hide these because I'm not going to be working on that, and we're going to be working with this version of Morty. Now you want to make sure that you're on the rigging tab because it's pretty much everything that you need in terms of rigging and creating a skeleton for a character will be under this tab. The modeling tab isn't really useful at this point. Even on the tabs here as well, you see that there's a rigging icon. What you want to use, you want to go to skeleton and create joints. Now joints are basically the bones, the structure of a person. We all have skeletons and that's basically what we'll be doing. We're essentially creating skeletons. This is the icon here for joints as well, so you can click on that. And these joints, again, will influence areas around the object. So for instance, we need, for an elbow, you need to put a joint in there so that way it can bend. You'll need joints in the fingers so that we can have that sort of articulation. In the foot so you can rotate it, to bend the knee. Again, these joints are basically to create a skeleton, and that's what we'll be doing. We'll put this on reference because I don't want to be influencing or accidentally selecting Morty. I'm going to have the wireframe on shaded turned on, and I might even have the X-ray on as well so I can kind of see transparency on it as well. Press the spacebar and we'll be going and pretty much working in all of these viewports here. I'm just gonna so I'll start off in the side view, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to create my first joint pretty much in the middle, and this is going to be our control node or the control joint. We'll be calling it root. So basically if we select the middle joint, it will select the entire skeleton. This is pretty much the head honcho of your hierarchy. And we'll start by doing his left leg. You might want to kind of move around in the scene. You can kind of see here that again you may need to start moving these around because again you are working in 2D, so it'll be quite difficult to see what you're doing specifically. So I'm just moving this in the center right now, and I'm going to work on the left leg. So what I'm going to do is zoom in there. I'm going to click on the joint icon again, and what I can do is if you click on one of the joints and drag, you can create another joint and it'll be attached to the first joint. So again, it is creating a hierarchy. I'm going to put it around here, so this will be his hip, and what I'm going to do next is I'm going to go into the side view and create his knee. Now I want to put a little bit of a bend to the knee, I'll explain this in a later video, but essentially it's for the eye care handles. You need a bit of a bend to it, it can't be straight. And put one here for his ankle. Now, if you think the joints are too big, the good thing is you can go to display, animation, joint size. I think these joints are a bit too big, so I'm going to start lowering them down. You can make them bigger or you can make them smaller. I'm going to probably change this to around 2. Yep, that's fine. And I'm going to click on that there. So you have his ankle, we've got the foot, and then we'll have one for the toe. Oops. If you hold on shift, you'll see that the joint will be pretty much straight, but a lot of times you won't really need them to be straight. I'm going to press enter. So you can see right now we've actually got a bit of a hierarchy going on. So we have the toe here. Again, that's just going to be singled out. Again, as we work our way up the leg, it will have a hierarchy to it. So this right now is the head of the hierarchy. Now, again, we can see here right now it's called joint 30, joint 31, joint 32, etc. These are pretty much obsolete. We can't have them just their default names. We have to go in and change the names to them. So I'm going to just go into here. You can use the hierarchy or you can just select it. I personally like to use the hierarchy. So I'm going to go with this. I'm going to call this root, because this is pretty much the root of the whole thing. You'll see it says root 1 because again I have the default, because the other one has root on it as well. This one will be called hip underscore L because it's the left leg. This will be the knee underscore L. This will be the ankle underscore L. This will be foot underscore L. And this will be the toe underscore L. Again, the L meaning left. Now we need to start creating his spine. Now, you need to have a little bit of understanding of how anatomy kind of works, but since this is a cartoon character, we can kind of exaggerate a little bit. We don't want the skeleton to be, we don't want the spine, sorry, to be completely straight, so we'll need to have it slightly off to the edge and moving upwards. So we'll go back to our side view. And what we'll do is go back to create joint, click on the root one, and then click to the side. So we're going to create our first spine here. Create another one moving up, one around here, and then we'll create the neck joint as well. So you should have about, roughly you want about 3 joints for the spine. Got the neck there, and then we'll work on the head. It's up to you how you want to do the head. So for instance, I'm going to have one at the back here, and I'll have one at the top as well, just to be safe. So let's just look at it in the side view. I'm relatively happy with that. I might go around and just start moving these joints around just a little bit and move that back into place. Yeah, that seems to be okay. What we'll do as well is we'll have some support joints. At the moment, we have the skeleton right at the back. We can put a joint right at the front, around here. Put one around here, just to give a bit of support when you're sort of bending and deforming it around. It's usually quite helpful. So for instance, I'm going to select this joint here, select to the side. I might hold shift to keep it straight. Just put it just outside of the geometry itself. Oops. Press enter when you're done with that. And select create joint. Shift. And add one there. This last one will be a bit of a pain. But oops. And we'll have one around here. For the head as well, you may want to put in some more control. So for instance, if I go to the back of the head here, might put one in for the jaw, for later in case you want to actually animate the mouth. Put one here for the teeth, and I'll probably put one in for the nose as well. So again, I'm going to click and then drag over there. then press enter. And what you want to do is, again, start naming these. Say, for example, this should be spine 1. This would be, say, belly or chest 1. You can name it whatever you want. As long as it makes sense, that's the most important thing. Work your way up there. Now we've got the left leg made, we've got the spine, head. Now let's move on to the actual arm itself. So we may want to go into this side view. Sorry, the top view. It's going to be a little bit hard to see. But maybe if I turn off the wireframe shaded. Hopefully I'm able to actually see. We want to make sure that we've got the spine free selected. Yep, got the right one selected. And what I want to do is kind of move this down a little bit. About there. And now what we'll do is we'll start creating the arm. So you want one right about there for the shoulder. One for the elbow. And again, you need to put a little bit of a bend to it. The reason being, again, is for IK handles, which we will talk about in later videos. And then one for the wrist. And then we'll have to go in and start to name these. So for instance, this will be... I forgot what this one was called now. This isn't the shoulder, it's something else. I'm quickly going to check my other one. I've forgotten the name, I apologise. The clavicle, that's it. Do you want to call this the clavicle, shoulder L, elbow L, and then wrist L? And if we just compare it to the other one here, again, I probably would move that up a little bit, but that's how you create a basic skeleton for your character. And again, if you just compare this particular, skeleton right here, you can see that everything is named appropriately. So we have root, we have the spines, and we also have hips. So everything right now is appropriately assigned and appropriately named. Now, if you do find that the hierarchy is a little bit messed up, what you can do is, if you select the joint in the hierarchy, hold on the middle mouse button, you can click and drag. So for instance, I can move it out of the way, and that usually does detach it. So I'm going to just get rid of the actual hip joint. Can be a little bit fiddly, but for instance, might just move that out of the way. There, see me. Click on it and you right mouse button to remove it. You can see right now that these joints have pretty much lost their hierarchy. They're not really attached to anything anymore. You'd only ever really need to do this in case the hierarchy is a little bit messed up. Again, make sure that the hierarchy does make sense. You want to make sure that this is the root one. As you can see, this controls pretty much every single part of the object. Now you may be wondering why I haven't created joints for the right side of the object. That's because later on we can mirror it to the right or to the left, which will save us a lot of time, because again, we're going to be adding a lot of features to this particular skeleton, which we can mirror over to save some time.